Emergency button pressed, Royal King's Horse Guards. The morning sun rose gently over the royal palace, casting a soft golden glow across the sprawling grounds. Birds chirped happily and the gardens shimmered with dew. Everything seemed peaceful, almost perfect. Visitors had begun to trickle in, cameras in hand, eager to catch a glimpse of the majestic palace and its famous guards. But among the tranquility, there was a sense of purpose that ran deeper than the eye could see. This was no ordinary morning. The Royal King's Horse Guards, renowned for their discipline and elegance, were preparing for their daily routine, and for them, every day was a performance of precision and pride. Captain Elias, a tall man with a strong build and a calm yet commanding presence, walked along the cobblestone path, inspecting the guards and their horses. He had served in the Royal Guard for over 15 years, and every morning he felt the weight of responsibility settle firmly on his shoulders. The horses were magnificent creatures, bred for strength, speed, and intelligence. Their coats gleamed under the early sunlight, each one meticulously groomed by dedicated stable hands. The guards moved with a sense of rhythm, their boots clicking sharply against the stones, and their uniforms crisp and immaculate. Elia's second-in-command, Sergeant Marlowe, approached him carrying a small tablet with security updates. Marlowe was younger but sharp-minded, the kind of officer who noticed details others missed. His job was to monitor the palace's sensors, cameras, and alarms, ensuring the palace remained secure at all times. He glanced at Elias with a subtle smile. "Everything is running smoothly this morning," he said, though a small frown creased his forehead as he reviewed the data. "No unusual activity so far." Elias nodded, his eyes scanning the grounds. "Good, keep it that way," he replied. But even as he spoke, there was a quiet tension in the air, the kind of feeling one only notices when they have seen enough years of experience to understand that calm can be fragile. He turned toward the line of horses, running a hand along the neck of a strong chestnut stallion named Valor. Valor nickered softly, pressing his nose against Elias' hand. There was a silent bond between the captain and his horse, a trust built over years of training and countless drills. Every guard felt a similar connection with their mount. The morning routine was a carefully choreographed series of movements. The guards mounted their horses, and the clatter of hooves echoed in perfect harmony across the courtyard. Tourists paused, pointing cameras, watching as the guards performed ceremonial drills that showcased their skill and discipline. From a distance, it looked like a display of simple grace, but behind it was countless hours of training, coordination, and a deep understanding of both horse and rider. Each motion had a purpose, each turn and step a demonstration of unity. Elias walked along the line, observing closely. "Remember," he said, his voice calm but firm, "precision is more than just appearance. It is respect for the palace, the king, and the tradition we represent. Stay alert but stay composed." The guards straightened, absorbing every word, understanding that discipline was not just about outward form but inner focus as well. Marlowe, meanwhile, kept an eye on the digital screens in the small security office tucked beside the stables. The palace had modernized its security over the years, combining traditional guard methods with advanced technology. Sensors lined the perimeter, cameras watched every entrance, and alarms were designed to alert at the slightest irregularity. Marlowe took pride in his role, though he often found it less glamorous than the horseback drills. But he knew, in moments of real danger, his vigilance could be the difference between safety and disaster. As the morning sun climbed higher, the palace staff moved about their duties. Gardeners tended to flowers, cleaners swept paths, and administrators prepared for the day's events. Everything seemed ordinary, almost mundane. But the royal guards knew that even on days that seemed calm, they must remain alert. The palace was a symbol of history, tradition, and authority, and its protection was not just a duty, it was an honor. One of the younger guards, a man named Thomas, struggled slightly with the reins of his horse. Elias noticed and walked over. "Steady, Thomas," he said, placing a reassuring hand on the young guard's shoulder. "The horse responds to confidence. Speak to him with calm, and he will follow." Thomas adjusted his posture, breathed deeply, and felt valor-like focus settle over him as he guided his horse back in line. These small lessons, repeated daily, created a harmony that outsiders often overlooked. As the drills continued, a gentle breeze rustled the flags flying atop the palace. The sound of hooves, the clinking of harnesses, and the quiet murmurs of the guards formed a rhythm that seemed almost musical. Yet beneath the surface, subtle signs went unnoticed by most. A sensor light blinked briefly, a slight flicker on one of the monitors. Marlowe noticed it but dismissed it as a minor glitch. Little did they know, it was the first whisper of an event that would disrupt the calm morning in ways no one expected. Ilias called the guards to a halt, raising his hand. The horses stopped in unison, their breathing steady, their ears twitching at the faintest sound. The captain's eyes scanned the horizon, trained to detect even the smallest movement. "Good work," he said, his voice carrying a quiet pride. "Let's keep this discipline throughout the day. Every action matters." The guards nodded, knowing that their performance was more than ritual. It was a demonstration of readiness, the silent promise that the palace was safe under their watch. Tourists whispered among themselves, impressed by the horses, obedience, and the guards' perfect timing. Many had never considered the years of training behind such a display. The royal guards were not only protectors, but also living symbols of dedication, discipline, and honor. For Ilias, every glance at a guard or horse reminded him of the responsibility he carried. Mistakes were rare, but the consequences could be grave. By mid-morning, the palace began to buzz with more visitors. The guards maintained their positions, moving fluidly as the drills shifted. Each movement was precise, yet natural, as if the horses and riders were extensions of each other. The sunlight glinted off the polished boots and armor, creating a spectacle that seemed almost timeless. It was a scene that captured both the eyes and the hearts of those who watched, yet only the guards truly understood the discipline required to sustain it. As the morning continued, Captain Ilias felt a slight unease. There was no immediate threat, no visible problem, but instincts honed over years of service often alerted him to subtle irregularities. He exchanged a glance with Marlowe, who returned a slight nod. Both men knew that in the world of security, calm mornings could quickly change. Every detail mattered, and every precaution was a step toward preventing disaster. The royal king's horse guards moved with elegance and purpose, unaware that the day was about to take a sudden turn. They were focused, disciplined, and proud of their roles, representing centuries of tradition and the trust placed in them by the king. The palace grounds seemed serene, yet the story of that morning had only just begun. The peace of the morning shattered in an instant. A loud, shrill alarm rang through the palace grounds, cutting sharply through the gentle hum of activity. The sudden sound startled everyone, tourists jumped, palace staff froze mid-task, and even the horses whinnied in surprise, stamping their hooves nervously. The calm that had defined the morning vanished, replaced by tension and uncertainty. Captain Ilias' eyes narrowed instantly. He had trained for moments like this, though he hoped they would never come. Instantly, his commanding voice echoed across the courtyard. "Guards, positions, now!" The horse guards snapped to attention, their calm discipline returning as quickly as it had been interrupted. Horses reared slightly at the urgency in Ilias' tone, but careful hands guided them back into line. Every movement was precise, every command clear. Years of practice had made them a unit that could react instantly, no matter the chaos around them. Sergeant Marlowe rushed to the security station, tapping furiously at the tablet in his hands. The screens displayed the palace layout, and tiny red lights blinked urgently, indicating the origin of the alarm. He frowned as he tried to make sense of the data. "It's coming from the East Wing," he shouted, his voice carrying over the clatter of hooves and rising panic. His fingers moved rapidly, trying to access the cameras, but the footage seemed oddly delayed, as if someone, or something, was interfering. Ilias mounted his horse swiftly, gripping the reins with steady hands. His eyes swept the area, scanning for any sign of a threat. The guards followed his lead, forming an organized line as they prepared to investigate. The tourists and staff were hurried to safety by palace attendants, guided gently but firmly away from the courtyard. Despite the fear that rippled through the palace, the guards maintained an air of control, their confidence grounding those around them. The sound of hooves echoed across the marble pathways as the horse guards moved quickly toward the East Wing. Ilias' voice rang out over the commotion, giving clear instructions. "Stay alert, watch every corner, no sudden movements. Protect the grounds and each other." Every word was met with acknowledgement, and the riders adjusted their formation, ready to respond to whatever awaited them. The horses themselves seemed to sense the urgency, muscles taut, ears pricked, and nostrils flaring. Meanwhile, Marlowe continued scanning the security feeds. The blinking red lights on his screens confirmed that something unusual had occurred near the East Stables, a place normally quiet during the morning routines. He could see shadows moving oddly, too quick and fleeting to identify clearly. Sweat gathered on his forehead as he realized that this might not be a simple false alarm. He quickly tapped the emergency override, trying to lock all exits and prevent anyone from leaving the palace grounds. Elias signaled to the guards to split into small groups, each taking a specific path toward the source of the alarm. The horses navigated gracefully, their hooves making almost no sound as they approached the east wing. The air was tense. Every rustle of leaves, every flicker of shadow seemed amplified. Even the birds had gone silent, as if sensing the change in the palace atmosphere. As they reached the edge of the east stables, Elias slowed his horse and signaled for the guards to dismount. The stone floor of the courtyard felt colder now, the usual warmth of the morning gone. He motioned for Marlowe to come closer. "What do we have?" he asked, keeping his voice low but steady. Marlowe pointed to a small monitor in his hands. "The alarm came from here near the stables, but look, there's movement. Someone is trying to tamper with the gates. I can't get a clear view yet. It's too fast." The guards exchanged quick glances. They had been trained to handle emergencies calmly, but nothing could completely prepare them for the unknown. One of the younger guards, Thomas, swallowed nervously, his eyes wide as he scanned the area. Elias put a firm hand on his shoulder. "Stay focused. Fear is natural, but control is stronger. Remember your training." Thomas nodded, taking a deep breath, feeling the confidence radiating from his captain. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the corner of the stable. The guards reacted instantly, positioning themselves strategically. Elias raised a hand, signaling the team to hold. Every eye tracked the movement, every horse strained against the reins, ready to spring into action. The intruder, or whatever it was, paused briefly, as if aware that the palace guards were not ordinary defenders. Marlowe continued updating the information. "It looks like the person is trying to access the private stables. There's a keycard lock, but it's being forced open." He tapped rapidly, trying to activate security barriers remotely. "We may have a real intruder," he admitted, his voice tense. Elias' jaw tightened. This was no ordinary alarm. This was a test of their readiness, their skill, and their ability to protect the palace under pressure. The guards advanced cautiously. Horses stepped silently, guided by experienced hands, while the intruder remained partially hidden among the shadows of the stables. Elias signaled for two guards to flank the sides while he and Thomas approached the main pathway. Every step was deliberate, every movement controlled. There was no room for panic here. The horses, sensing the tension, moved in perfect unison, their instincts sharp, their training evident in every motion. As they drew closer, a loud clatter echoed from the stables. A bucket knocked over, the sound sharp against the quiet tension. The intruder reacted instantly, dashing toward a small exit. Elias' command rang out. "Stop them! Block the way!" The guards spurred their horses forward, cutting off the path. The intruder hesitated, realizing that escape was no longer easy. In that tense moment, the palace grounds seemed to hold its breath. Even the wind slowed as if waiting for the next move. Elias' eyes locked on the figure, measuring every movement, predicting every step. The guards moved as one, a seamless unit of human and horse, guided by experience and trust. Every command was precise, every response calculated. Finally, the intruder was cornered near a small side gate. Elias dismounted and approached cautiously, signaling for Marlowe to check the surrounding area. The guards formed a protective semicircle, ensuring no one could slip past. The intruder froze, clearly realizing that escape was impossible. Elias kept his voice calm but firm. "You are surrounded. Do not move. We are here to protect the palace." The figure hesitated, then slowly raised their hands. It was over almost as quickly as it had begun, but the tension lingered like a shadow over the stables. The guards secured the intruder and began checking the area thoroughly for any signs of accomplices. Marlowe reviewed the security footage again, confirming that this was an isolated event, but also noting small anomalies that suggested planning and intent. As the palace slowly returned to normal, the guards led the intruder away, keeping the situation controlled and orderly. The horses, though alert, had calmed under the skilled hands of their riders. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the tension drain but knowing that the day was far from over. The emergency had tested their training, their teamwork, and their ability to respond under pressure. Even as the crowds returned, unaware of how close the palace had come to danger, the guards remained vigilant. They resumed their positions, but the sense of alertness lingered, a reminder that their duty was never truly finished. Captain Elias and Sergeant Marlowe shared a brief nod, an unspoken acknowledgement of the morning's challenges and the trust that bound them together. The Royal King's Horse Guards had faced their first real test of the day. Their discipline, courage, and unity had prevented what could have been chaos. Yet, even in success, they knew that the palace's safety depended on constant vigilance, quick thinking, and the bond between horse and rider. The morning had begun in calm beauty, and though the peace had been shattered, the guards' dedication ensured it would endure. After the intruder had been apprehended near the east stables, the palace grounds slowly began to settle. Yet Captain Elias knew that this was only the beginning. A moment of chaos could hide hidden threats, and an intruder appearing in the east wing was rarely an accident. The Royal King's Horse Guards needed to remain vigilant. Calm had returned on the surface, but the air was still thick with tension, the kind that only experienced guards could truly feel. Elias signaled for the guards to regroup. "We need to check the rest of the east wing thoroughly. Move in teams and cover every entrance, corridor, and room," he instructed. Every guard nodded, understanding the importance of leaving no corner unchecked. The horses were temporarily secured at the stables, ready for rapid deployment if needed. Their presence had been essential in the initial response, but now human eyes and careful steps would complete the investigation. Sergeant Marlowe stayed close to Elias, holding his tablet tightly as he reviewed the footage once again. "I don't think this intruder came alone," he said quietly. "Look at the sequence here. There's movement I couldn't capture clearly. Someone else may have been scouting. If there's another person, they might still be inside the palace grounds." Elias' expression hardened. The peaceful palace morning had turned into a game of careful strategy. Every second counted, and every mistake could be dangerous. The guards split into teams of 3, moving silently through the corridors of the east wing. They checked doors, inspected windows, and listened carefully for even the faintest sound. Every creak of the floorboards and whisper of the wind seemed louder than normal. Elias moved toward a small side hallway, his eyes sharp, noting every detail. The slightly ajar doors, the shadows shifting as sunlight moved through the windows, and the distant sounds of birds startled into flight. Marlowe followed, scanning the cameras and security sensors on his tablet. "The south corridor shows movement," he murmured. "I can't tell if it's the intruder or something else." "Keep your eyes open." Elias nodded, signaling a pair of guards to check the area while he advanced slowly. The team moved with quiet precision, their training making them nearly invisible to anyone who might still be hiding. As they approached the south corridor, they found signs of minor disturbance: a knocked-over chair, a scuffed floor, and a window slightly unlatched. Elias gestured for the guards to remain alert and continue their sweep. "These signs suggest someone was here recently," he said quietly. "We need to secure the exit points and make sure no one else is inside before the palace resumes normal operations." Meanwhile, Marlowe's fingers flew across the tablet screen. He was trying to override the gates to ensure no one could leave unnoticed. "East gate is locked. Main gate is secure, but there's a small maintenance exit near the stables that wasn't monitored closely," he noted. "We need someone to check it immediately." Elias quickly assigned 2 guards to the task while continuing to coordinate the search teams. Every movement was methodical and every action calculated. The palace itself seemed to respond to the guards' vigilance. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting patterns on the floors. The polished marble reflected the shadows of the guards, emphasizing their careful, deliberate movements. Even the air seemed charged with anticipation, a silent reminder that danger could appear where least expected. As the guards moved deeper into the east wing, they encountered locked doors leading to private chambers and offices. Elias instructed 2 guards to check the doors for signs of tampering. The horses, now resting, seemed to sense the tension, stamping occasionally and snorting softly. Guards remained near the stable, ready to remount if speed became necessary. The palace was a vast and complex place, and securing every corner required patience and coordination. Suddenly, one of the teams reported a minor clue near a small courtyard, footprints in soft soil leading toward the north wing. Elias examined them carefully. The prints were fresh, confirming that someone had moved quickly through the palace grounds. "This is why we cannot assume the first intruder acted alone," he said. "We move as one unit, cover every pathway, and watch for hidden routes." The guards' pursuit turned into a careful strategy of observation and containment. They established checkpoints, quietly alerting palace staff to remain in safe areas and not to interfere. Every guard knew their role. Some monitored windows, others watched corridors, and a few, including Elias, moved silently through the main passageways. The palace, normally serene, had become a place of quiet vigilance. Marlowe's tablet beeped suddenly, indicating unusual activity near the northern perimeter. "I see movement near the gardener's shed," he said. "It looks deliberate. Someone may be trying to blend in with staff or visitors." Elias motioned two guards to move in quickly while keeping the others in place. The team approached with caution, every sense alert. When they arrived at the shed, the guards found it empty. But closer inspection revealed small marks on the ground, footprints, and the scuff of a boot. Elias crouched to examine them. "They were here very recently," he said. "Probably watching us, waiting for a chance to escape." Marlowe nodded, adjusting the camera angles to monitor possible exits. It was clear that the intruder had been part of a plan, not just a random misstep. The search continued for hours, the palace guards moving from one area to another with careful coordination. They checked every possible exit, interrogated staff quietly for observations, and ensured that the tourists were safe in the main courtyard. Despite the long hours, there was no sign of panic among the guards. Their training and discipline kept them steady. The horses were ready, quietly resting, and sensing their rider's command even from a distance. At one point, Elias paused to confer with Marlowe. "We have covered the east and north wings thoroughly," he said. "We need to check the west wing and the small corridors that connect to the main hall. The intruder might have used them to hide or escape." Marlowe agreed, quickly reviewing the sensor data. "I'll track movement patterns and alert you if anything shifts, but so far, nothing unusual shows up in those areas." As they moved through the west wing, the palace corridors became narrower and the sunlight dimmed. Shadows stretched across the polished floors, creating shapes that seemed to move with the team. Elias remained calm, guiding the guards with precise instructions. "Slow and steady, no sudden movements. Watch for any hiding spots or unusual marks." Every guard obeyed, their eyes scanning every corner and doorway. The final phase of their search led them to the palace's hidden passageways, narrow and seldom used corridors that connected the main wings. Elias signaled carefully, and the guards proceeded single file. Their training allowed them to move quietly and efficiently, each step measured, each glance alert. Marlowe monitored them via portable cameras, providing guidance and information as needed. After a thorough sweep, they found a small clue, a fabric torn slightly on a latch of a hidden door. Elias examined it carefully. "This confirms that the intruder moved quickly and planned this escape route," he said. "We will need to secure it permanently. But for now, we have contained the immediate threat." With the palace fully searched and all possible intruders accounted for, the royal king's horse guards regrouped. Elias addressed them quietly but firmly. "Today has tested our skill, discipline, and coordination. We acted quickly and efficiently, but we must remain vigilant. Patience and attention will always keep the palace safe." The guards nodded, proud of their performance yet aware that their duty was never finished. Marlowe double-checked the security systems, ensuring every sensor and camera was functioning correctly. "Everything is secure now," he said. "No further signs of intrusion. The palace is safe." Elias allowed himself a small nod of satisfaction. The emergency was over, but the lessons remained clear. Preparedness, teamwork, and constant vigilance were essential. The day slowly returned to normal. Tourists wandered again through the courtyards, oblivious to the morning's events. The gardens were peaceful once more, and the horses grazed quietly, their presence a silent testament to the palace's security. Yet for Elias, Marlowe, and the guards, the day would always be remembered as one that tested their readiness and unity. The royal king's horse guards had proven their skill, courage, and dedication. They had turned a potentially dangerous situation into a demonstration of professionalism and calm precision. And though the palace seemed serene once again, the guards remained alert, knowing that vigilance was not just a responsibility, it was a promise. The morning's tension had settled slightly, but the palace was far from calm. Captain Elias knew the danger was not entirely over. Even after a thorough search, the thought that another intruder could be hiding or planning escape lingered in his mind. The royal king's horse guards were disciplined, courageous, and well-trained, but the unpredictability of an intruder required constant vigilance. Every step, every glance mattered. Elias gathered the guards in a small courtyard near the east wing. The intruder they had captured earlier was being escorted to a secure holding area, but Elias wanted to make sure that the palace was completely safe. "Listen carefully," he said, his voice calm but firm. "There may still be someone attempting to escape or hide. We will divide into small teams. Our priority is safety for everyone here, the visitors, the staff, and the palace itself. Move carefully and stay alert." Sergeant Marlowe tapped on his tablet. "There's movement near the hidden passageways that connect to the north wing," he reported. "It's faint, but it's definitely recent. Someone might be trying to get through undetected." Elias nodded. This was exactly the kind of situation they had trained for. It required courage, careful planning, and trust between the guards and their horses. The guards mounted their horses again, moving in formation with skill and precision. Horses and riders became a single unit, ready to respond to any sudden threat. The guards were silent, focusing only on the task ahead. Every hoofbeat on the marble floor seemed to echo in the quiet corridors, announcing their approach without giving away their exact positions. As they reached the north wing, the intruder, who had been hiding in the shadows, made a sudden dash toward a small side gate. Captain Elias reacted instantly. "Block the exit," he commanded. The guards spurred their horses forward, cutting off the path. The horses moved with remarkable speed and agility, anticipating the intruder's direction. The figure froze, realizing that escape was no longer an option. The guards formed a semicircle, ensuring no gap through which the intruder could flee. Elias dismounted quickly, his boots making contact with the cold stone floor, and advanced toward the intruder with careful steps. "You are surrounded," he said firmly. "Do not move. We are here to protect the palace." The intruder hesitated, clearly weighing options, and then slowly raised their hands in surrender. One of the younger guards, Thomas, approached cautiously, ready to secure the intruder under Elias' guidance. The horses remained calm, standing near their riders but alert, as if sensing the tension. Every guard knew their role, to ensure control without panic, to maintain safety without aggression. Training and discipline were the tools that made the dangerous situation manageable. Marlowe carefully monitored the surrounding areas through his tablet. "No one else appears to be in the vicinity," he reported. "The intruder is alone for now." Elias nodded, still cautious. "We will take them to a secure location and then complete the final sweep of the palace." Nothing is left unchecked. The guards moved as one, guiding the intruder through the corridors while keeping a watchful eye on every potential escape route. As they walked, Elias observed the palace itself. It was a place of history, of tradition, and of great beauty, yet it had become a stage for courage and quick thinking. The polished floors reflected the tension of the guards' movements, while sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns on the walls. The horses, symbols of strength and loyalty, waited patiently nearby, ready to act at a moment's notice. After securing the intruder, Elias instructed a final sweep of the hidden passageways. Guards moved carefully, checking every corner, every door, and every possible hiding place. Marlowe monitored each area with precision, coordinating the teams efficiently. Hours of careful work ensured that no one could escape unnoticed, and that the palace remained protected. Suddenly, a subtle noise caught Elias' attention, a faint scrape, almost imperceptible over the sound of guards moving. His instincts told him someone else might still be trying to move through the palace undetected. "Stay alert," he commanded. The guards immediately adjusted, surrounding the area while the horses shifted slightly, muscles tense, ready to respond. The source of the noise became clear as a shadow darted across the corridor. It was the second intruder, moving quickly and attempting to reach the main hall. Elias' voice rang out sharply. "Stop there. You are surrounded." The intruder skidded to a halt, realizing the palace guards had anticipated their path. Horses neighed and stamped, a warning that escape was impossible. The confrontation was tense. The intruder was desperate but clearly outmatched by the coordination, skill, and presence of the royal king's horse guards. Elias approached slowly, speaking in a calm yet commanding tone. "Do not resist. We are here to ensure the palace is safe. Any further attempts will only put you at risk." The intruder, recognizing the determination in Elias' voice and the readiness of the guards, slowly complied, raising their hands. Thomas and two other guards carefully secured the second intruder, while Marlowe ensured that all other potential exits were locked and monitored. The palace, once again, was under full control, and the threat had been neutralized without harm to anyone. The experience highlighted the importance of preparation, coordination, and courage in moments of danger. After the second intruder was secured, Elias took a moment to speak to his team. "You all acted with courage and precision," he said. "Today has tested us in ways we could not have predicted, yet you have shown that training, teamwork, and calm judgment are our greatest strengths." The guards nodded, proud but aware that vigilance was never complete. The horses were tended to carefully, their coats brushed and reins checked. They had played an essential role in both containment and deterrence. Their intelligence, responsiveness, and strength had made a critical difference in controlling the intruders' movements. For Elias and the guards, the bond with their horses was more than training. It was trust, a shared understanding that allowed them to act as one unit. The palace staff, now aware of the events, moved quietly but confidently to assist in restoring order. Tourists, though curious, were kept safely in the central courtyard, away from the corridors and hidden passageways. The sense of safety returned gradually, but the morning's events left a lasting impression. The royal king's horse guards had demonstrated professionalism, courage, and discipline, ensuring the palace remained secure. Marlowe reviewed the security systems once more. "All sensors and cameras are operational," he reported. "No further movement detected." "The palace is fully secure." Elias nodded, satisfied but reflective. The intruders had challenged their training and courage, but the response had been swift, effective, and humane. The palace's safety had been preserved without unnecessary risk. Elias walked slowly through the now quiet corridors, observing the interplay of sunlight and shadow, the polished floors, and the silent strength of the horses. He reflected on the bravery of his team, the loyalty of the horses, and the importance of vigilance. Every detail, every preparation, and every hour of training had mattered today. The incident was a reminder that even in the most beautiful and serene places, courage and readiness were essential. Finally, the captives were taken to the secure holding area, and the palace gates were thoroughly checked and reinforced. The royal king's horse guards returned to their ceremonial positions, the horses grazing quietly nearby. The calm of the palace returned, but it was a calm born from preparedness and courage rather than luck. Elias looked at his team, pride and respect clear in his eyes. The morning's events had tested everyone's limits, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Yet the royal king's horse guards had proven that courage, discipline, and trust in each other, and their horses could overcome unexpected challenges. The palace remained a place of history, tradition, and beauty, and today it had also become a place that celebrated bravery, quick thinking, and teamwork. As sunlight streamed across the palace grounds once more, Elias felt a quiet sense of satisfaction. The emergency had been handled, threats neutralized, and the palace secure. Yet the lesson remained: vigilance was never optional and courage was always required. The royal king's horse guards had faced danger and emerged successful, their actions a testament to their training, dedication, and loyalty. The palace had returned to its usual rhythm, though the events of the morning lingered in the minds of Captain Elias, Sergeant Marlowe, and the royal king's horse guards. The sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting warm light across the gardens, the marble pathways, and the stables. Birds chirped again, and the soft rustle of leaves filled the air. To an untrained eye, the palace appeared serene and untouched by the tension that had gripped it just hours before. But those who had experienced the day knew otherwise. Elias stood near the main courtyard, watching his guards as they returned to their ceremonial positions. Their horses were calm, grazing quietly or standing with dignified alertness. Each guard had handled their role with professionalism and courage, and Elias felt a deep sense of pride. He had witnessed how quickly his team had adapted, how decisively they had acted, and how effectively they had protected the palace and everyone within it. Today had tested more than their skills. It had tested their trust in each other and in the bond they shared with their horses. Marlowe approached, holding his tablet carefully. He had spent the past few hours reviewing every security feed, ensuring that there were no lingering threats. "All systems are fully operational," he reported. "No unusual activity detected anywhere on the grounds. The palace is completely secure." Elias nodded, grateful for Marlowe's vigilance. The younger sergeant had proven his worth in moments of high pressure, demonstrating intelligence, quick thinking, and calm under stress. The intruders had been placed in secure holding areas, and palace officials had been informed. The events of the morning would likely become part of palace records, a lesson in preparedness and the effectiveness of the royal king's horse guards. Yet Elias understood that the true measure of the day's success was not in reports or accolades. It was in the safety of everyone, the smooth coordination of the guards, and the steadfast performance of the horses. Elias walked slowly toward Valor, his chestnut stallion, who nickered softly as he approached. The horse's coat shone in the sunlight, and his eyes held a calm intelligence that Elias had come to rely on over many years. Running his hand along Valor's neck, Elias felt a quiet bond, one that went beyond words or commands. The horse had been a partner in every drill, every emergency, and every routine day at the palace. Their connection reminded Elias that courage and loyalty were shared, and that trust was built over time through experience and care. Thomas, the younger guard who had been initially nervous during the alarm, approached slowly. He had performed admirably during the morning's events, helping to secure the intruders and assist his team in the sweep of the palace. Elias placed a hand on Thomas's shoulder. "You did well today," he said warmly. "Your calm under pressure made a real difference. Remember this moment? It is proof that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it." Thomas nodded, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment that only came from overcoming a real challenge. The rest of the guards stood nearby, quietly tending to their horses, checking equipment, and sharing brief words of encouragement. There was a sense of unity among them, a bond forged not only through daily drills, but through shared experiences that tested their skill and character. Each guard knew that their performance had prevented potential chaos, safeguarded the palace, and maintained the dignity and authority of the royal king. Elias then gathered the team together for a final reflection. "Today has shown what we are capable of when we work as one," he began. "Every command followed, every horse guided, every movement coordinated, it all mattered. You have demonstrated courage, discipline, and loyalty. The palace is safe because of your dedication." The guards listened intently, their posture straight, eyes bright with pride. They understood that their duty was more than ceremonial. It was a responsibility that required vigilance, skill, and heart. Marlowe added, "And let us not forget the importance of preparation. The systems, the sensors, and the equipment we maintain are only effective when combined with the skill and alertness of the guards. Technology and human judgment together keep the palace safe." Elias nodded, appreciating the reminder that every element of security, human or mechanical, played a crucial role in protecting the royal grounds. After the reflection, the guards resumed their ceremonial positions, but the atmosphere was different. There was a sense of quiet confidence, earned through action rather than practice alone. Visitors returned to the palace grounds, curious but unaware of the morning's events. They saw only the elegance of the horses, the precision of the guards, and the beauty of the palace. But beneath the surface, the royal king's horse guards carried the knowledge of their own courage and the reassurance that the palace was secure because of their dedication. Elias took a moment to walk through the gardens, reflecting on the morning's lessons. The palace had been tested, and it had emerged unharmed. Yet the experience highlighted the need for constant vigilance. Calm days could quickly become critical situations, and readiness was not an occasional necessity but a continuous commitment. He observed the fountains, the neatly trimmed hedges, and the sunlight dancing on the marble pathways, feeling a renewed sense of responsibility. The palace was more than a home for the king. It was a symbol of tradition, history, and safety, entrusted to the care of the guards. The horses, now resting, seemed to share in the sense of accomplishment. Valor nuzzled Elias' hand, and several other horses approached their riders, their eyes reflecting the quiet intelligence and loyalty that made them invaluable partners. The bond between horse and rider had been tested today, and it had proven unbreakable. Every guard knew that their trust in their horses had been a key factor in successfully managing the emergency. Elias then called the team together one final time before the end of the day. "Remember this day," he said, his voice steady and warm. "It will be part of your memory and part of our history. The courage you displayed, the quick thinking, and the teamwork will guide us in every future challenge. We protect not only the palace, but the trust placed in us by the king and the people." The guards listened with respect and pride, knowing that their work mattered deeply. Marlowe closed the final security logs for the day, confirming that every sensor and camera had been checked and restored. "Everything is fully operational, Captain," he said. "We are ready for whatever comes next." Elias gave a firm nod, appreciating the reassurance that their preparations and efforts were complete. The palace was secure, the guards had proven their skill, and the intruders had been contained safely. As the afternoon sun began to dip toward the horizon, the royal king's horse guards returned to their daily routines. Horses were groomed and fed, equipment was inspected, and the ceremonial drills resumed, though now with a deeper understanding of their significance. Every step, every motion, every command carried not only tradition but also the proof of their courage in action. Visitors continued to admire the palace, unaware of the tension and courage that had played out earlier. To them, it was a scene of grace and beauty. But for the guards, the day had been a reminder of the seriousness of their duty and the importance of readiness. They had faced uncertainty, acted decisively, and ensured the safety of the palace and everyone within it. Elias walked slowly through the courtyard one last time, watching his guards and horses. Pride filled his heart, not only in their skill but in their loyalty and teamwork. Today had been a test, and they had all passed with honor. The royal king's horse guards had proven that bravery, discipline, and trust were stronger than fear or danger. The palace, shining under the setting sun, was once again a place of beauty, safety, and order. Finally, as the evening settled over the palace, Elias allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The events of the morning had tested the limits of skill, courage, and patience. But the outcome was clear. The palace had remained safe, the intruders had been contained, and the royal king's horse guards had upheld their duty with pride and excellence. The lessons of the day would remain with them always, a reminder that readiness, trust, and courage were the foundation of true protection. And so, as the palace doors closed for the evening and the horses rested in their stables, the royal king's horse guards stood tall and vigilant. They were more than ceremonial figures. They were guardians of tradition, defenders of safety, and symbols of courage. The morning's emergency had tested them, but it had also proven their skill, their loyalty, and their unwavering commitment to the palace they served. The palace was calm once more, but the story of that day would become part of its history, a testament to the bravery, discipline, and excellence of the royal king's horse guards. They had faced danger, acted with courage, and ensured the safety of all. And as long as they remained on watch, the palace would always be a place of safety, pride, and honor.